Tell us where in Chicago you were from, because this ties into why we're so close and where we grew up. But what about your neighborhood? You were in the city of Chicago.
Yes.
I actually was not. So go.
Well, we'll get to your area, but you were considered the third Italian district of Little Italy of Chicago. So Norridge and west on that the Harlem Avenue side. But originally, I was born at Lawrence. So I was born at Lawrence and in the Kennedy, basically. That's where we were born. There's the big. Remember the lips, the kiss sign?
Yes, the magic kiss.
The magic kiss. I think that sign was attached to my apartment building off of the Kennedy. I really do. I believe that was, because we would see it and we would know we were home as kids, because we had no sense of direction. We had no idea. Parents were smoking in the car, did not roll down the windows. It was a whole thing. My mom's going to get mad at me for saying that, but the fact of the matter is that was just a terrible experience, and we were happy to be home because we can breathe. But yeah, that part of Chicago, my dad was a cop. We did a podcast before kind of explaining my father being an interesting fella. And then we moved to Laramie and Diversey.
Okay.
Right, but there was a great Butera, which I don't think Buteras are still around, where grandma can go with a little cart, go get her groceries, put them in a little cart, and walk them home.
Buteras are still around.
Buteras are still around.
There's still one in Norwich.
Right. Okay, and I remember there was a some odd number of flavors. What was it, 21 flavors? Or 31 flavors?
Baskin-Robbins, 31 flavors.
31 flavors that all the other kids got to visit but me. And I would walk by and be envious of the fact that there was 31 flavors that I never could sample.
No.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Appreciate that one. But the reason why I couldn't eat those flavors is, it's made me the better man I am today.
Yeah, hey.
So,
well, you didn't grow up in the nicer part of Harlem Avenue, where we had the Baskin-Robbins 31 flavors.
There you go.
Across from the Harlem Irving Plaza.
See, you had all the good stuff.
Norwich
Sam.
Commons, I think it was called. But fun fact is, Norwich is the only suburb that's completely surrounded by the city of Chicago.
Wow.
Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. So to the west of Norwich is Chicago, right before O'Hare Airport. It's right by O'Hare.
Yeah.
And back in the day, Chicago was annexing all this land, Jefferson Park and Norwood Park and such. And the people in Norwich said, no, we're good on our own. We don't need the Chicago police. We don't need any of that stuff.
Wow.
And so they turned it down. And about 10 years later, they realized that was a huge mistake and went back to the city to try to get annexed. And
wow.
Nope, sorry, guys, you blew it.
And Norwich also had the world famous Rolling Stone records.
Absolutely.
You can still get your music needs from Rolling Stones, which is a sponsor of DC. No, they're not.
Maybe we
can, based upon this conversation. They may want to throw some money our way.
They still have. They used to have the records hanging from the ceiling. They'd all be on strings when you walk in. Then they had the CDs.
And then they moved to CDs.
Yeah, now
the technology
CDs,
changed.
So I literally grew up 2 blocks from there. So it was a regular stop for me to go into Rolling Stone.
And a regular stop for my brother, who was a musician. So that was a regular stop.
My older brother, when he went away to college, had left his turntable. And that's where I went and bought albums. I think my first this was a 77 or so, Queen, a night at the opera, or one of those. And I would built my record collection at Rolling Stone Records.
And I always thought the people that got to work there, what was that process to get the job there? Because they just had a swagger about them. They were just better than everyone else because they had access to all that music.
Well, and back in the 60s and 70s, but there was still marijuana paraphernalia and stuff that was being sold there. So it still had that vibe,
right.
Had that 70s Led Zeppelin
and professional musicians, bands would come to Rolling Stone and they would do signings and they would do all of that. Absolutely. So that was the good old days, Sam.
That is the neighborhood. We're west of Harlem Avenue where I grew up, and you were just east of Harlem Avenue.
Yeah.